Crean Lutheran School. My name is Pete Hansen, and I am the Senior Student Programs Associate at Operation Smile. One of your science teachers, Ms. Chung, reached out to me and asked me if I could speak specifically to the medical cohort students at your school to educate you a little bit more about Operation Smile. She told me that there's a group of students that are all interested in the medical field and in acquiring medical internships, and that the work of Operation Smile might be of particular interest to you guys. So I can't be with you in person because I'm in Disney World, but I thought making a video would be a great way to talk to you and educate you a little bit about what Operation Smile does. So thank you in advance for watching this video, and I would be delighted to discover ways that your students and Operation Smile can continue to work together. We have student clubs around the world, from elementary schools through universities, that get involved in our organization and support our philanthropy and support our work around the world as we travel into developing countries to provide free surgeries to children, mostly children, who were born with cleft lip and cleft palate. So again, thank you for watching this video. I hope you learn a lot, and I hope that we can work together in the future. Okay, so here is a quick Operation Smile 101 presentation for you, if you will. You're going to learn a little bit more about what Operation Smile does, why we do what we do, and how students are engaged in our mission and our philanthropy. Operation Smile is one of the world's largest volunteer-based surgical organizations. We go into developing countries and we provide free surgeries to patients, most of whom are children, who are living with cleft lip and or cleft palate. We envision a future where health and dignity are improved through safe surgery. Let's talk a little bit more about what cleft lip and cleft palate are. The little girl that you saw a moment ago, she has what's called a bilateral cleft lip, meaning she has two openings on her lip. You'll see in this illustration that in the center top picture, that is what would be called a unilateral cleft lip, or one opening on the lip. The bottom row of pictures shows different kinds of cleft palate. The bottom left shows a full cleft palate. The middle picture shows a unilateral cleft lip with a partial cleft palate. And the bottom right picture shows a bilateral cleft lip with a full cleft palate. Imagine, if you will, for a moment, some of the challenges that our patients face as the result of having these clefts. It is very difficult for our patients to eat and drink. You can appreciate that if you had one or two openings on your lip, that just eating and drinking, chewing food or drinking a beverage, and having openings on your lip, it would be difficult to keep all of that in your mouth. Your palate is the roof of your mouth. So again, if you have a cleft palate, it's literally an opening on the roof of your mouth. Right above your palate is your sinuses. So if you're eating or drinking, that food and that liquid is going to go up through that hole in the roof of your mouth and get in your sinuses, and it's going to come out of your nose. So not only would it be difficult to eat or drink correctly, but it would just be downright uncomfortable every time you ate or drank. Cleft conditions can be fatal in infants. Babies drink milk as their sustenance and they breastfeed. Well, it's very hard for a baby who has a cleft lip to create suction in order to breastfeed. If they are able to feed and they have a cleft palate, again, that milk is going to go right up through the roof of their mouth and come out of their nose. So malnutrition is a huge problem in babies with clefts. For example, this little baby is 16 days old, and her mom brought her into one of our mission sites in Nicaragua 2 years ago. And this baby was not going to survive. This mom was not able to feed this baby, and things were not looking good. And if you look, you can see that this baby has a severe bilateral cleft lip. And if you can see up inside of her mouth, she has a little tiny opening. She has a cleft palate as well. So when she came in, she was too little to operate on. Generally, Operation Smile doctors will not do a cleft lip surgery until a baby is 6 months old, and they generally don't do a cleft palate surgery until a baby is a year old. So this little girl was much too small for a surgery. But what they did do is, you can see they fashioned this device. It's called an oral obturator, and you can see it fits right into the roof of her mouth, and it closes her cleft lip, and it closes the top, closes the cleft palate inside of her mouth. This allows her to be able to drink. So she's going to be okay. She can now get the sustenance that she needs, and she will move on to solid foods with that obturator. And in 6 months' time, she will be a plump little happy baby that's ready for her cleft lip surgery. It's also very difficult for our patients to be able to breathe normally. You can imagine that just having openings on your lip and or an opening in the roof of your mouth would create lots of additional airflow, and just breathing in a normal way would be difficult. Also, for that same reason, it's difficult for our patients to learn to speak correctly. Just with all that additional airflow happening, it's difficult for our patients to enunciate words. I also tell students all the time to pay attention when you're speaking to how often your tongue touches the roof of your mouth, particularly when you make that T sound, tuh, tuh, tuh. A lot of our speech is reliant on our tongue, again, touching the roof of our mouth. And you can appreciate that if you had an opening in the roof of your mouth, you would never learn to speak correctly. And there would be a lot of words that you just could not say. So breathing and speech are challenging for our patients. And perhaps one of the greatest difficulties that our patients face is what we call the social stigma that's attached to having a cleft. Again, we are going into countries where people lack access to medical care and just do not understand the basic concepts of health and wellness that you and I understand. And as a result, I think people are afraid of things they don't understand, and they're afraid of these children. They don't understand why they have clefts. A lot of times people are afraid that these children their facial condition may be contagious. Obviously, it's not. If you're not born with it, you can never have a cleft, but people don't understand that. We also go into plenty of communities where people believe in things like witchcraft or curses. And I can assure you that once a child is labeled as having a curse on them or having a contagious facial condition, nobody wants anything to do with these kids. And they lead a very sad life. Aside from all of those physical challenges, a lot of times their parents will hide them at home to shield them from the cruelty of others and protect them. These kids don't go to school, and they just live a life without opportunity or possibility. And enter Operation Smile into the picture, and we provide these children with this life-changing surgery that allows them to be integrated into their communities for the first time in their lives and to live a normal life just like everybody else. So this is the reason why Operation Smile does the work that we do. There are billions, not millions, billions of people in the world today who lack access to any kind of medical care or surgical care. You look at that statistic on the bottom there, only 6.3% of surgeries go to the poorest third of the population each year. So what that means is that if you were living in poverty in a developing country, the likelihood of you getting any kind of medical care or surgical care is very, very slim. More people die each year from lack of access to safe surgery than from AIDS, tuberculosis, and malaria combined. So lack of access to safe surgery is a huge problem in the modern world. So here are our co-founders, Dr. Bill McGee and his wife, Kathy McGee. We call him Doc. So this is Doc and Kathy, and they started Operation Smile in 1982. And the reason they started the organization was when Doc was a young doctor, he went with a doctor group over to the Philippines, and he is what's called a craniofacial plastic surgeon. So he works on people's heads and their faces. This doctor group went to the Philippines to take these young doctors over to get some real world experience practicing surgeries. They got medical supplies donated, and they had enough supplies to do 40 surgeries. They traveled over to the Philippines, and what they did not anticipate is when they set up their medical mission, hundreds of families came to their mission site with children who had clefts. So it was really impactful to Doc that most of these kids sadly were turned away because they only had enough supplies to do 40 surgeries. So Doc came back home to the area of Virginia where we live. It's called Hampton Roads. He lives in a city called Norfolk, which is right next to the city where I live, Virginia Beach. So he came back to Norfolk and he started reaching out to people in the Hampton Roads community and asking for donations, asking for volunteers, for doctors and nurses to see if they would like to go back to the Philippines with him. And in 1982, they took the first Operation Smile mission back to the Philippines to try to help some of those kids. That first year they did the mission, the Operation Smile mission, they probably did in between 40 and 50 surgeries that year. Now we do surgeries all over the world. We're in Central America, South America, all over Africa. We operate in some countries in the Middle East. We're all over India, China, Vietnam, Madagascar. Everywhere in the world where people are living in poverty and don't have access to surgical care, Operation Smile is there taking care of patients who have clefts. And in an average non-COVID year now, we perform over 20,000 of these surgeries a year. So these folks right here, Doc and Kathy, are people who have had a profound impact on making the world a better place and continue that work today. And it's a big job because every 3 minutes, a child is born somewhere with a cleft. So this is also a big issue in the world that's not going away anytime soon. We haven't figured out yet how to prevent clefts. And until we do, Operation Smile will be there in all of these countries to provide surgeries to our patients. Really quickly, I'd like to show you, just for some perspective, some pictures of some of our patients and where they live. This is a scene, a little girl who lives in Ghana, and you can see she's holding a picture of herself there before she had her surgery. And this is a picture of where a scene lives. Certainly not much like a house we would be used to here in the United States. I see wires going over the top of this house that look like electrical wires. I think there's probably a good chance that there's not electricity running into this home, but nevertheless, you can see that they're living in pretty poor conditions there. This is Emmanuel, who lives in Brazil, and you can see she has a pretty severe cleft lip there. And this is the neighborhood where Emmanuel lives. You can see there's no cars on the streets. It's fairly run down. I discuss these pictures with elementary school students a lot, and they'll say a lot of times that the houses here look kind of like garages. The streets are falling apart. A pretty rundown neighborhood there in Brazil. This is Emmanuel after she's had her surgery, and what a beautiful little girl she is. It is amazing work that our doctors do. Here again is Emmanuel before surgery, and here she is after surgery. And you'll see she has a little scar, which oftentimes our patients do, but for the most part, you just can't even tell she's had that surgery. And the beautiful part is a cleft lip surgery only takes, on average, about 45 minutes to perform. A cleft palate surgery generally takes about double that amount of time and takes about an hour and a half. And the average cost of these surgeries to Operation Smile is about $240. So for $240 and in as little as 45 minutes, we can change a child's life forever. This is a little boy named Samuel who also lives in Ghana. And here's a picture of Samuel and his father walking through their neighborhood. And you can see they are living well below the poverty line. And this is Samuel after he has had his surgery. And what a handsome young man he is. This is a wonderful patient story, one of my favorites. This is a patient named Enoch. And Enoch lives in Rwanda. And Enoch, as you'll see here, he works in a bakery. And we met Enoch when he was 25 years old. He had never seen a doctor before, and he was very reluctant to agree to get a surgery. He finally did agree, and on the day of his surgery, Enoch did not come to the hospital. A volunteer went back to Enoch's home and found him and asked him why he didn't come to the surgery. And Enoch said that he was too embarrassed that his clothes were not nice enough to go to a hospital. I love these pictures here. Enoch talks about in his story about how when he would go to work each day, he would hide from people. He would cut through alleyways or cut through backyards and try to avoid people because people in his community were very cruel to him and said horrible things to him when they saw him. So he lived a life mostly in solitude. And you can see in that first picture, there's just no joy in Enoch's face or in his eyes. And you look at his eyes in the second picture and you can see that he is transformed in more than just the physical sense. You can see that Enoch is a new person. There is light in his eyes. They asked Enoch before he had his surgery what his greatest hope was after having the surgery. And he said, "One day I hope that I'm able to kiss a girl." Well, at 25 years old, that was never going to be a possibility for him. Enoch is married now. He has a son. He has a whole life that would have never been available to him without this surgery. And when you think about that number, Operation Smile is, when we talk about doing over 20,000 surgeries a year now, Operation Smile has done over 400,000 of these surgeries since 1982. And that is 400,000 stories just like Enoch's of lives changed in that significant of a way. So it's just a beautiful thing for our patients. Operation Smile has student clubs in schools around the world, from elementary schools through universities. Our student clubs do all kinds of neat things for us. They'll do fundraisers, awareness campaigns, service projects that benefit our patients. In a non-COVID year, one of the most wonderful things we have each year is our International Student Leadership Conference, or ISLC. We move this conference around every year, and generally we'll have between 300 and 500 students attend. At our last conference, we had 26 different countries represented. Once students attend this conference one time, they can apply for our mission training workshop. And this is for students who are leaders in their clubs that are passionate about being involved with Operation Smile. It's fairly competitive to get selected to mission training workshop. But if you do, you go through a weekend, 3-day training course where you train to go out and participate in our medical missions. And students have the opportunity to go into an operating room and see a surgery. But most importantly, again, we're going into places where people never see a doctor, never go to the dentist. There's no pharmacies. There's no annual doctor checkups. People just lack the basic knowledge of health and wellness that you and I have. And so our students teach medical modules or medical classes to these families that provide them with just some basic knowledge. These students here, along with Kathy McGee, are teaching a class on nutrition. Here are some students teaching a class on CPR. These students are teaching a class in India that we just piloted last year on post-lip and post-palate care. So they're teaching families how to care for the surgical area after a child has had surgery, how to clean the wound, what type of dietary restrictions they need to be on after they've had surgery, things like that. These students here, it's hard to tell, but they're holding a poster board of a mouth, and they are teaching a class on dental hygiene and the importance of brushing your teeth. So it's wonderful knowledge that our student groups pass along on the missions. A lot of our missions are on hold right now because of COVID. We don't have students going into the field right now, but we're hoping that, next school year after summertime, things start to go back to normal. In the meantime, our student clubs have been very active this year. They've done a lot of campaigns for us, a lot of fundraisers, a lot of service projects. We have a service project toolkit. We have student clubs that make smile bags for us. All of our patients get a smile bag after they've had surgery. We have groups around the world that sew these bags for us. They're drawstring bags. And then student groups will help us raise the contents of the bag. Everyone gets a toothbrush in their bag, some toothpaste, a bar of soap, a little bar of shampoo, a small stuffed animals, a coloring book, some crayons, a washcloth, a comb, just a bunch of little things. It's kind of a gift bag after surgery. And the reality is that a lot of the items in the smile bag are items that child has probably never owned before and may never own again. This little girl has a sock puppet. Student groups make sock puppets for us, and they're great to entertain the kids on missions. But also we have speech pathologists. We talked about earlier about how our patients oftentimes have difficulty speaking. Our speech pathologists will use the sock puppets to demonstrate shapes to the kids on different shapes they need to make with their mouth in order to learn how to speak correctly. We have student clubs that will decorate t-shirts that go out on the missions. We have a blanket service project where you cut a blanket to a certain size. The specifications are in our service project toolkit. And then every child is wrapped in one of these blankets before they go into surgery. And then when they come out of surgery, they get to take that blanket home with them. And again, more likely than not, that's going to be the first blanket that that child has ever called their own. We have a wonderful project going on with our student program clubs right now where we're sending aid to our patients and their families in Guatemala, Nicaragua, and Panama. People in those countries are struggling just to get food on the table right now during this pandemic. 11% of the population of Guatemala is struggling to get food on the table for their families. So our student clubs are rallying and trying to get all of that together for us. I'll leave you with this. This is an operating room in Guatemala. I was there 2 years ago. And when you look in this room, all you see is a table and a light above that table, and that's it. You'll see that they have a window unit, air conditioning in the back. This is unlike a hospital room here in the United States. Here we have rooms full of technology and everything that doctors would need to do a number of procedures on patients here. It just doesn't exist in other countries. So Operation Smile is headquartered here in Virginia Beach, Virginia. We have this beautiful warehouse facility in our building, and every day we're shipping supplies out from this warehouse all over the world where our medical teams will receive them. They will unpack these boxes, and these operating rooms will transform into fully functioning operating rooms where we can really change the lives of our patients. So it's wonderful work that Operation Smile does, and we would love to get your school more involved. If you would like to start a club or be involved in any other way, I work for you. My job is to connect you with Operation Smile, and if there's anything I can do to help you get a club rolling at your school, come up with any ideas, I would love to help you put that together. So let's work together. This is my contact information. I thank you guys for everything that you're doing. Miss Chung told me you're making service projects and you're just having a whole evening about Operation Smile. So thank you so much. And I hope you feel inspired after this video presentation. And I hope that we'll have the opportunity to work together. So keep in touch. Let me know if you'd like to set up a club. And I'll look forward to seeing all of you guys soon. Take care.